Hello, my name is Joya Anthony Dadore, and my topic is Asperger syndrome versus autism spectrum disorder. As you can see, some of us are born with scripts, but some are not. People with neurodevelopmental disorders have a condition that affects their brain, more specifically their behaviors, cognitive and motor functions, and their communication. One of his types was PDD, aka pervasive developmental disorder. Was a group of 5 subtypes, most notably autistic disorder and Asperger syndrome. However, by 2013, it was replaced by ASD, aka autism spectrum disorder. It was done by the American Psychiatric Association's manual called the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders, 5th edition. Today I'm going to inform you about the differences between Asperger syndrome and autism spectrum disorder by explaining the key features of Asperger syndrome, the key features of the 3 levels of severity of autism spectrum disorder, and the confusion between the two. As you can see, Asperger syndrome is a subgroup of ASD nowadays. According to one of the articles from the National Library of Medicine, ASD-AS is characterized by individuals who exhibit symptoms consistent with ASD, specifically at level 1 severity, with accompanying intellectual impairment. ASD-AS refers to Asperger syndrome from autism spectrum disorder. As for key features, there isn't much to say. One of the most notable symptoms was that overly formal speeches, high verbal cue. Where as compared with people with ASD, they have like higher knowledge and use of language, and they have more anxiety and depressive symptoms. As the other one is based on diagnosis, like children with AS can be detected as soon as 3 to 5 years old or older than 11 years old. That's about it. The rest of the symptoms are more similar to the symptoms from level 1 severity of autism of ASD, which you'll get into. ASD is now its own. Is now its own group. It's a neurodevelopmental disorder. According to the DSM-5, ASD has 3 levels in severity based on social communication and repetitive restrictive behaviors. Level 1 requires support, Level 2 requires substantial support, and Level 3 requiring very substantial support. Level 1 is the most basic, the most familiar symptoms, like obsession with interest, limited amount of interest, difficulties in social overtures, emotions, feelings, nonverbal communication. They absolutely despise that. Of course, they will have problems trying to interact with other people, and they might not be fully independent, but they can surpass that with support. As for behavior goes, they don't like changes. They don't like to change the behavior. At level 2, it gets more severe. Okay, now there's like very limitation. Their social communication are very limited now. Of course, the more aggressive towards change, they despise changes. Like if you place like a furniture with another, they'll have a problem with that. If they switch schools, they absolutely will have a problem with that. And the behavior becomes more restricted and repetitive now. And moving on to level 3, it's basically level 2, but taken to the extreme. Now, when it comes to social interactions, they may only be able to use a few words or not speak at all. They can only make noises. So yeah, in this case, they might not be. There's like low chances of being independent now. They might not able to be independent now. Hey, but at least AS is more comparable with level 1 severity. So yeah, AS and ASD are often confused with each other because their symptoms are very similar. They're just too similar. Even before DSM-5, they have been having problems. Like, according to one of the articles of National Library of Medicine, while research has identified nuanced differences between the two disorders, most studies have emphasized the similarities between AS and HMFA. As you can see, before DSM-5, they still have problems because the only way they can differentiate the subtypes of the PDD, which includes child disintegrative disorder, PDD not otherwise stated, and Rett syndrome, is based on the criterion under diagnosis. But even then, multiple studies have struggled to differentiate them all. So of course, DSM-5 provided a solution to combine 4 of them together, excluding Rett syndrome, into 3 levels of severity. That was the solution, but this has caused controversy as many have been identified with the subtypes of PDD. So yeah, in conclusion, this is a very complex topic. I mean, this is a complex topic. Like, I chose ASD and AS because they're the most well known, and then ASD. But even then, I had to exclude so many details and definitions, like HMA from one of my quotes. That HMA means high functioning autism, which is basically level 1 and 2 before it got replaced by level 1 and 2 severity. But hey, in the near future, DSM-5 might get updated to DSM-6.